All right, guys, welcome back. Welcome back. Today we're going to be talking about 100 Thieves. If you didn't see our last video, it was on TL, and I hope you guys go check that out. Obviously, TL stacked roster. But you know what? Today we're all about 100 Thieves. Now, we know a lot of things have changed, but the one thing that hasn't changed is Nadeshot's roster he put together in the offseason. So 100 Thieves is a 100% confirmed roster at this point. Everything is a done deal from what we've seen, and we're just going to run you through that. So take us away.
Okay, so first I'm just going to give you a quick whole roster rundown. Top, you're looking at Someday, jungle, closer. Mid is DeMonte, AD carry is FBI, support is Huhi, head coach is Zeke's, manager is still Papa Smithy, and they also brought in Freeze for assistant coach. So that's the new roster. That's what it looks like. What do you think?
Okay, first off, man, Someday has a fucking team. Holy shit. Our boy has been, best top laner NA. And he was sitting in Academy for a whole season, basically, man.
Do you remember those Academy games where, you wouldn't play? Like, you could tell he just didn't give a shit. And then next thing you know, he's like up 100 CS, and he's like 0-3. You're like, what the fuck happened here?
Yeah. So those games are hilarious.
Like, oh, okay.
Those games are hilarious because he would just randomly go for tower dives. And you'd be like, what are you doing, bro? And he just trade 1-for-1 under tower. But the difference was he was so far ahead of obviously all the Academy top laners at the time.
Because this do whatever you wanted.
This 2019 or 2018 that he was.
This is last year.
So it was 2019, right? So he was just so much better. And obviously it was one of those situations where 100 Thieves looked at their roster and they said, what do we have to replace more? Was it their mid laner and that they decided, okay, our mid laner is so bad we have
so they had an NA resident mid.
Saligo, right?
Saligo, that's what it was. Yeah. So they had Saligo mid, and they realized, okay, this guy is so bad, we cannot play him. And I think they brought in an import, and it just like, well, we have too many imports now. What do we do? Move someone else? No, can't really. We have no one else in the academy, so it's like, okay, here comes Sunday. See you later. I guess you're out. Even though he was their best player at the time, which is, I don't know.
Yeah, so that was literally one of those situations. It was one of those situations where it's like, our mid is so weak that we have to put Someday in academy.
Who was the other importer?
I'm gonna look it up. You roll with it.
Yeah, take a look at that. Okay, so then you have Someday in the top lane. Definitely top 3 top in North America. And then you're looking at jungle, closer, mid, DeMonte, AD carry, FBI, and support Huhi. So basically they said, hey, we're going to replace Haunter, take the rest of your team, and just make a better version of Golden Guardians, who really came together at the end of the year. They looked really good both times they played TSM. Yeah, they got reversed up in the second one, but whatever, that happens. But that bot lane especially looked really, really good. Closer has been great. DeMonte, I don't know about. Out of every resident NA mid, I don't know. Like, if you're trying to be a top team, this is kind of trying to be, like, why are you going out and playing DeMonte, who needs 5 bans against a top mid laner to not get shit on and then still get shit on? Like, there's no way you should be able to play Zillion mid and not gain any advantage.
To counter that a little bit, DeMonte pulled out the Ziggs, which is a cheese pick, to be fair, but he looked really good on the Ziggs. But also, that's just a straight up Froggen style, let me farm lane and not do anything, truthfully.
Yeah.
Now, okay, I got the info for us. So
okay,
if you remember, the 100 Thieves roster that was originally being put together, Papa Smithy was trying to get together, included Bang and Someday.
That's what
Bang
it was.
Bang was on 100 Thieves. So those were our 2 imports, right?
And they brought in Phoenix, right?
No. So it was Ryu and Saligo. Ryu, obviously not amazing, but he was better than, so essentially, and because Fake God took Someday's spot, so they essentially decided, okay, the Fake God Ryu was Saligo was so bad that they actually had to put Someday in academy, which is rough.
That's so bad.
And to be fair, I think that's just a testimony of the impact that mid lane has. You will never be a top team without a top mid laner, as you were just saying. They're still kind of doing that with DeMonte. He's a middle of the pack and a mid.
So what do we have right now for NA residents in the mid lane? So we have Pobelter.
So Poe, well, I mean, he's on CLG, so that would require a buyout, obviously.
I'm just gonna name off every NA mid, right?
Sure.
Just to see what is out there. Okay, Jensen.
Yep.
Jensen, Pobelter, obviously Demonte. Someone just got pulled up from Academy too.
Well, Palafox.
Palafox.
Yep.
And then who else has been confirmed? I guess that's it, right?
Power Beagle.
Any mids in that?
Did you throw Power Beagle in there?
But he's not a resident.
Oh shoot! Sorry, he isn't.
I don't know. I thought there was more residents than that. But even out of that group, like,
yeah. So I mean,
honestly, I think he's the worst
there
one.
is, because there's Insanity, right?
Insanity. That's the other one. Yes.
Insanity's another one.
Golden Glue.
The Glue, obviously, who Demonte replaced on his last team. You know. Let's see, who else do we got? That might be it, to be totally honest with you.
But like for NA mids, is a lot. Considering what was it, a couple years ago?
Actually might be resident now, but I can't remember. Phoenix is resident, obviously.
Yeah.
That's gotta be it, man. I mean, okay, so
like, with that out of those,
Academy is littered with a bunch of Academy or NA mids.
Yeah.
But yes, I think out of all those options, probably Demonte is the best you can get.
Really? Okay, I think there is. Well, okay, obviously number one is Jensen.
Naturally, yep, without a doubt.
Clearly, out of any resident mids. I mean, should still be Bjergsen, but retired. That's that. Other than that, then you're looking at like Pobelter, I think is better than Demonte.
Yeah, so I mean, Pobe is just such a.
And then after that,
known quantity.
Any of them should even be in the league if you want to be a competitive team. Like if you want to be a competitive team and your goal is to win, that's great. But if your mid laner is worse than Pobelter, you're not going to win.
Yeah,
like
that's not to slam Pobelter, because Pobelter is probably one of the best, homegrown NA mids.
He's the best
there has ever been
of all time,
right?
High.
Well, High, yeah, but yeah. High obviously retired a bit earlier than, and Pobe's still going here.
Come on, don't forget Link.
We can forget about Link. We can. I mean, no. We're actually forgetting the greatest NA mid of all time, my friend. Reggie.
Oh.
And it's funny because Reggie actually was really good in his day. funny enough.
For one season.
Yeah. Well, I mean, to be fair, no one else was good back then. That's the main. Everyone sucked in season 1. But so here's where I'll say this is a big year for Demonte, right? If he wants to be taken seriously, and not because obviously 2020 Demonte bounced between Academy and LCS, right? I think Spring Split, he was in an Academy for Guardians. Wasn't it Guardian? No, he had no team for a bit.
He had no team for Spring Split.
Yeah. But then he got the Guardians Academy.
He actually went to Worlds, came back, and then did not have a team.
Yes. I think Guardians picked him up for their Academy team.
Yeah.
And then he took the role from the Glue, and the Glue was sad. That was in between spring and summer. And then the Glue got picked up by EG, obviously, eventually.
Later on, then he went.
Later on. But, so this is huge for Demonte, because if he doesn't want to have that happen to him again, right? No, he's not going to be Jensen level this split.
No.
He's not going to be PoE level, and he's sure as hell not going to be Perks level. So he's not a top 3 mid. To be fair, it's going to be pretty fucking hard for any team to have a top 3 mid when those 3 are in the league, right?
Yeah.
However, you now have specifically 2 rookies in the league. You've got Insanity, who's played about half a split last year. I think he played half a summer, maybe a little bit more. I can't remember whether it was week like 5 or 6 or something like that they put him in. And then the other one, obviously, Palafox, right? So you've got 2 really young, up-and-coming, high mechanic players in the league. If Demonte can't prove that he is better than them at something, doesn't have to be everything, right? He doesn't have to be straight mechanic.
That was the other one, Palafox.
Yeah. So if he can't be better than those 2, he's gonna do the same thing he did in 2020.
He's literally gonna be the new Golden Glue.
He'll be the new Glue, right? Yeah. And so this is big for him. And that's the thing that Glue couldn't do, is he couldn't show that he was better than these other mids.
He is a poor man's Niski.
Yes, I mean, we talked about it. I think in
That's what it
our
is.
first episode where we talked
Yeah.
about, you got your tiers. You got Doinby, you've got Niski, and then you've got
Yeah.
Demonte, right? So
Like-
you've got the Chinese version, then you've got the EU version, and then you've got the NA version, boys. It's a little rough out here.
It's
but
rough.
at the same time, this is a big year for him, because if he can pull it off, then he's cooking, right? Then he's on his way to being the next Pope Belter.
So where do you think this team? Actually, we'll get to that later. Where do you think this? So someday top 3, right?
Well, Someday is consistently fighting for number one. I don't even call Someday top 3, because he's fighting for number one consistently, right?
Yeah, I think Sunday's the number one top, depending on what comes in still, because there's still
naturally, yeah.
TSM is import slots open. Who knows what's happening with them right now?
The thing I will say is, I know everyone thinks Alfari will be the number one top laner in the league. I would just say, is Alfari a world champion?
Alfari is also going to get the NA nerf, so just wait for that.
You think he's getting the NA nerf? Okay.
Yeah, he's going to get that.
We'll see. I mean, we'll have to wait and see, right?
Yeah, I don't know if that team will play around. That team's never played around topside. Think about it. For the last 3 years, right?
Yeah.
How long they've had impact. They don't play around topside 4 years. They played around bot and they played around mid. So them switching up their whole style isn't going to be easy, especially change their bot side.
He is a good weak side player, right? Because he had to play with upset.
But to be the number one top, your team has to play around you. You can't play just weak side. And
it's true. It's why, for example, Broken Blade looks so good. TSM played around him. He's a talented player. Don't get me wrong. When he has the resources, he plays well most of the time. But it helps when your team plays around you the way they do. So yeah.
Bot lane is the next one. So I think this is pretty straightforward. Where do you think it ranks?
So by the end of last year, 2020 split of summer, they were the best bot lane.
Okay, so
laning bot lane. Sorry, let me rephrase that. Laning bot lane. Now,
the number one laning bot lane.
To be fair, Huhi is always a big question mark for me, right? Because he's shown times where he can be brilliant. When he first came onto the scene with his Aurelion Soul and other roaming mids like Talia, he looked pretty good. That was on CLG in 2015, I think, or 2016. Okay, he did not look good in Spring Split and Academy, or he looked okay in Academy. Him and FBI came together really well. Can they maintain that is the question. I don't think they will.
Very smart player, and that's evident by how he kind of played mid lane. He had the same Demonte Niski where he wasn't good enough laning, but I think he was actually as smart a level of wise as Niski, but his laning wasn't as good.
Yeah, so absolutely. He's a really
level. He would have been considered the same type of player if he had the jungler for it.
Sure.
Just because he knows how to play the map. His Aurelion Soul, timing, moving, Talia,
absolutely
was really, really good. And I think support is a great role for him, just because mechanically it's not as intensive. You focus on the areas of the map, but it's a lot to learn. It took him time, and I think he's learned it. So I think his laning is great. They play aggressive very well. They push their leads, but it's just now he needs to get into that when I'm in lane, I have to push that lead very quickly, and then I leave, and then I push the lead and I push something else.
Yeah.
He's not pushing something else that fast enough. So when you watch Core
now
and they're beating someone, he pushes it, goes and he pushes the lead somewhere else.
Now here's the thing though. The reason Core has to do that is because the primary carry on TL, especially now, is Jensen. So Core's responsibility is to babysit Jensen. Make sure Jensen's the one getting the lead. Right? They played some comps with Tactical. Tactical showed he can be that. There's less of that pressure with Huhi because Demonte is just help feeding FBI and Closer, right? Demonte isn't even in lane to help roam with. So it's going to be Huhi and Closer having to have that relationship together. Someday's going to do Someday's thing. He doesn't need help, truthfully. This man will just fucking do whatever he wants and win the game kind of thing, right? So the question, for me, okay, he learned the role. He's a smart player. They'll never take that away from him. I don't think he's going to be playing at the level we saw him playing at in playoffs. I think there's going to be regression. And that goes for both of them, FBI and Huhi, I mean, the duo. And, one of the things is with the season 10 changes over to season 11, we just have the most insane changes like happening, right? Like the entire item shop has been reworked.
It's
So
just damage, right? Like that's the meta. It's just damage, damage, damage. Yeah, there's some tanks that are OP because there's a lot of damage being played and you
yeah.
can get ahead. You can just snowball, but the rest of it's just damage.
So
And
I
you just do not like that.
so I have a few questions about that because obviously one of the things FBI messed up in the finals was positioning, right? Got a little over aggressive with that flash forward. And I get it.
Yeah, sometimes you got to go for the
That's the big boy play, and I respect that to the ends of the earth. I think if he didn't go for that, I'd have less respect for him, right? That means he's in it to win it. But now with all the damage they're implementing into the game, positioning is just all the more important, right? Every misstep is going to be even more important.
But I don't think you ever had bad positioning. Maybe it wasn't like insane or like crazy
Sure.
death level, but like you never had bad positioning. That was just like him going for, hey, I'm gonna win the game right here.
Mm-hmm.
This is on me. This series has been on me. I need to carry this. This is game 5. It's rise or shine, rise and shine. Like your time.
Yeah.
Here we go. If he makes that play and he kills TSM as Callista, like
Yeah, I mean that's true. And
I guarantee you double it for Tyre, Bjergsen retire that or
oh, the whole, I mean,
everyone is gone
right?
except for Spica.
I mean, yeah. So
Reggie would have been shouting from the stands, ready to strangle them. But I think he just made a play, and it didn't work. It didn't work out. I don't think he's like Wild Turtle, like I'm flashing and die all the time.
Sure. Yeah. And that's the only question, right? Is whether or not it's a trend or if it was a one-off where the pressure got to him. Either way, I mean, is there anything you want to talk about with the roster anymore? You want to talk about it?
We didn't really... bot lane, you ranked their laning.
So laning, as of right now, laning, they're the best laning bot lane. I think.
But like, if you just had to pick them up and rank them as a bot lane, as if whatever they offer all game,
they're top 3. They're top 3.
Top 3? Yeah, I'll take it.
Now the thing to keep in mind
is I'd put them top. It's I'll put them top 3.
The thing is, right, it's partly going to depend on what happens with some of the other teams. As of right now, Core and Tactical obviously are top 3 bot lane. The other one is Sven and Vulcan, right? So I think as of right now, those are the 3 bot lanes that are really there to watch out. Have TSM bring in Sword Art, different story maybe, right? Again, we'll have to wait and see. But as of right now, I would rank them as a top 3 bot lane.
Yeah,
especially if they keep that form that they had.
Yeah, that's about right.
We didn't really talk too much about Closer. I know you did.
Yeah, I passed them over a little bit because I wanted to go over the kind of easier ones. Closer's the one. I feel like him and Demonte are the 2 biggest question marks.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I think part of it's going to come down to partly it's going to be meta, right? So this last year it was jungle, jungle, jungle. All right, that's why Blabber was good. You play these comps where your mid and your jungler are just working together, which is a little bit different because always in the past it's been support in jungle. Mid and jungle had huge influence. The question is that going to keep going into the regular season, into spring split and summer split? Obviously they're changing format potentially, but is that going to continue forward? So if it continues, I think there'll be a solid duo, right? Because it is essentially going to be a discount Niski Blabber.
I like Closer. I know a lot of people love him, and they think he's a real top jungler in the region. They talk about it, but I don't know. There's just something that he still needs to show.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds like when you look at like Blabber or you look at Santorin, like those guys, they show a little extra. They it's like if they get that 110%, where he's only at the like 90%.
Okay.
Almost.
So I'll counter that a little bit.
To carry a little more or like just make a little more happen.
So I'll counter that a little bit. I think Blabber and Closer both have something to show, right? Santorin has shown diversity. The thing about League,
of course.
The thing about League is patch to patch, the whole game can change. I mean, look at Worlds patch. Worlds patch is always the most fucked up change ever during the actual season because they're like, let's make it spicy for Worlds.
That's just the dumbest shit ever.
And it's a little bit ridiculous, but it's huge adjustments for teams, right?
Like,
and that's why NA teams struggle a lot of the time because NA is notorious for adjusting slowly to patches comparatively. So you saw, TL struggled a little bit because they had to figure out what was good. They had it in the play-ins with Twitch, Rakan, but obviously Twitch Rakan can be punished by a fucking Draven. So
shit pumped in.
This is what I think about Closer and Blabber, is they both have something to prove this year, whether they can be flexible and adjust and continue to play at the highest level like Santorin has.
I don't know. I still like Santorin for me is clear number one.
Yeah,
he's the best jungler. Like sure. there's no question about it.
And we did say it last week. It's not like he's 100% better than the next guy, right? It's still very close, but he's just proven to be that extra bit consistent, I think.
And then you have like this other group of players, and that's kind of where Closer is. He's in this like other group of players just like below Santorin, and he needs to just show that he can do it a little more.
Yeah,
just contribute a little more. And the other thing is he just needs to win in playoffs.
Yeah, and that's huge.
You can't be considered the top player in the league when you never won in playoffs in a major region.
Blabber and Santorin have both played on the world stage.
Yeah.
Right. So yes, Closer has a little bit more to prove. He's got to perform at playoffs. He's got to make it to the world stage. And he's got to show that he doesn't crack on the world stage like some
when you watch that series versus TSM, both games. So like you saw night and day differences in the teams when they decided to start playing in game 3 of final series hit versus like 7 games or 5 games before that. Like I don't know, Closer didn't stand out to me in that series at all. It was the FBI Hui show.
No, I mean, and this is I think what I've always said about Closer. He came to NA at the perfect time, and he came to be on the perfect team, a team where he can be the star, right? That Golden Guardians team, it was the Closer show. Everyone else, FBI in that spring split hadn't upped his level yet. Same with Hui. Hui was still learning the role. I can't remember if they used who the hell did they? Keith McBrief, I think, played a little bit in spring split too, didn't he, as support? And then they put Hui.
I think so.
So Closer came in at the perfect time to show up and be a high talent, high mechanical, highly aggressive jungler. It's not always going to be like that. And Summer, he looked more like, in that second level of players, right? Because, now FBI and Hui are playing really well. You've got Hanser doing Hanser things. I mean, bringing 4 people to try and kill him while the Nexus dies kind of stuff, right? So it's harder to look amazing.
Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that Closer isn't good. He's overrated. But the couple things I'm saying is, one, whenever a new jungler comes and he's mechanically talented and he jumps on their dick and they fucking love them so much for some reason.
Absolutely.
I don't understand why. It doesn't matter if they don't have a brain or not, or if they know what to do. Mike Young, Rush, you can go down the list. There's so many of these junglers that come in.
There was a whole span.
Inori,
in that one
you
year,
remember that?
A bunch of them. Who?
Inori?
What, the guy with the Rengar one trick?
Yeah. When he came in and he popped off for 2 games, and everyone was like, holy shit, Inori's so good.
Yeah, whatever happened to Inori?
Nothing. And then he just disappears.
He rotted away. I think he was on C9 Academy last year or the year before or something.
Everyone just in North America just loves jumping on junglers.
Yes.
Relax.
And this is what I'm saying. It's easy to look good when you play aggressive.
Yeah. It's on bad teams, it's easier to do that. So and the Golden Guardians for a lot of the year were a bad team. When they became a good team, guess what? He faded away. So he needs to prove it.
I mean, when we say faded away, it's not fully we're not saying he's a bottom 5 jungler at that point. He's still a top 5 jungler.
He's just not near enough to that top.
Yep.
That's it. He's not. If Santorin's 100%, he's no longer 90%. Now he's 70%. That's what happens. He just tanks down.
Yep.
He doesn't know what to do. And that's my worry with this team, is that this mid jungle duo is just not going to compete.
Yeah, I think that's
too many issues, and they're gonna look outclassed versus top level teams. Versus bad teams, like the CLG teams.
They'll smash.
They'll smash.
I think
they'll smack them. No problem.
They just have
the way they're designed.
Yep.
But against the TL, the
C9.
C9, like, good luck.
It's gonna
Like,
be
your
hard.
team's gonna get smoked.
I'm scared for DeMonte when he plays against Perks because
Yeah,
as much as DeMonte got slapped by Jensen, as far again, we'll have to wait and see. Perks is
and
in theory a better player than Jensen. So
why I really don't understand. Like, I don't know why does so like 100 Thieves as an organization with Zeke's Papa Smithy. Like, Papa Smithy's great. He does a lot with the game and he does a really good job with his team.
sure.
This team, yes, it's going to be a good team. You know that for sure, pretty much, right? Because you just imported Gold Guardians. You know
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah. And you
But
just made a better
why?
top laner.
Why are you import? I kind of get it because like you know what your outcome is going to be, but you also kind of know what your ceiling is going to be with Demonte and Closer together.
Mm-hmm.
Unless Demonte pulls the rabbit out of his ass and decides to go crazy, sure. But like you just kind of ceilinged yourself to being just not as good as those top teams when you brought in 4 players to play with the best top laner in North America.
So I think what it is, right? I think they really like Closer and they really like the bot lane. So if you bring Closer in, now you can't import because Closer and Someday are
Yeah,
both your import slots, right? So now you're looking at native mids, and like you said, you're either buying out Pobe, Jensen, or you're going with a completely unproven rookie like Palafox or Insanity. At
I
least
think
the
both those would have been better options.
I agree. I wholeheartedly agree.
Yeah,
I am a
totally.
huge fan of Insanity. I think as
It
much as
it,
he
it
made
increases your
mistakes,
ceiling.
absolutely. But I think this is one of those situations where, okay, Closer and DeMonte have synergy from last year. Papa Smithy was valuing the synergy over the raw talent of someone like Palafox or someone like Insanity, or even looking at someone like Cat Evolved, right? Any of those guys in Academy. I think that was their main priority right now is keeping synergy and just giving Someday. I think they don't want Someday to mental boom and go back to Korea, right? I think that is.
I,
I think that's the fear. Because Did you see
yeah,
last year's hot fiesta of that?
yeah.
I mean, yes, they made playoffs in spring.
Meteos. And,
They made playoffs in spring, which was amazing. And then in summer, what the fuck happened there? They meant
yeah, just fucking boom.
their final video that their content team put together, where Ryoma was just so upset. Ryoma literally knew he was getting the boot in that video. Man, I swear you could see it after they lost
Yeah,
and
he's
were
into
kicked
it.
out, right? And it was, Someday is sitting there stoic. Like this guy didn't give a fuck at this point. He was like emotionless. The guy
I
was
mean,
a
he
robot.
knew. Like I don't know. He's a smart player. He
and
knows
I
that.
and I would imagine it was okay. We need results now. We can't take the risk of a higher talent player. We need to know. Okay, we'll smash all of the bad teams, right? They won't drop games to bad teams this time around, which is huge. It is brutally hard if you're a middle of the back pack team and you drop games to the bad teams.
But why don't you just sign one of those guys, put them on the academy, start the year with one of them? Halfway through the first 5 games, if it's not looking good, Monte, let's go.
Because I think it's a fear factor, right? Look at TSM with the Grig Acadian situation. Okay, so Acadian performed in spring.
Well, but you don't have to double them up. Like Greg and Katie were splitting games. They're splitting scrim blocks all the time. They were
Sure.
working together as a team. I'm saying you keep Monte the fuck away. Go sit over there. You go put your academy bums while we run with one of these high mechanic mid laners.
Mhm.
Try it out. If this guy can do it, if it's Sandy or like whoever else, Palafox can keep up and he can play, run it. If not, get Demonte and you keep them separate. When you merge and you have like this like weird dynamic, so often teams just like boom.
Yeah, I mean, you know what? The one that I think maybe 100 Thieves should have looked at here as well, because I don't think Palafox wasn't happening, right? Because he was the package deal
Yeah.
to EG, right? No, Fly.
Yeah. No, fine.
Fly. So he's in the package deal to Fly. So I don't think Palafox was happening. The guy they should have looked at was Isles, the dude from OS, right? Because
Yeah.
OS is in imports now, and he ended up taking the role on C9's academy team. And we talked a little bit about it, but I think the reason maybe he wouldn't have wanted to play for Immortals is because Immortals is a shit team. There's bad publicity. Look at their head coach got fired after getting promoted because he made stupid tweets. There was the whole like situation with Soez and Ica and just favoritism
Mortals
there,
is just a hot mess,
right? Mortals is a hot mess.
Because
So it makes
they
sense
come
for
back
them
in
to go
late.
there. Imagine you're this high mechanical player from OS, and you get to play with Someday, Closer, these guys who have FBI, Huhi, these guys who have looked so good last year. I bet you he would have taken that job, right?
Yeah,
Maybe
that would have been like the pick.
I think Isles would have been really interesting. Isles go to Isles was at Worlds, right?
I thought he went to Worlds as a
like the group, the play-in stage.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, he already has more experience than FBI and Closer on the world stage, funny enough, right? So I
same
think
amount as pretty much as Demonte.
pretty much. I mean, Demonte, what they got 6-0'd? Did
Yeah.
win a game? I don't remember.
I don't know.
They had a
Doesn't
rough
matter.
group, to be fair. We knew they were going to get. But anyways, we can talk a little bit about the coaching staff. Obviously, Zix, he's well known in the NA scene. He won with CLG, I believe, and then he obviously had a stint at TSM. Didn't really work out for him at TSM, and then he went to 100 Thieves, and he's, I mean, it was really not anything special last year, right?
He's a good coach. I don't know. He's known for being this draft god. I don't know if he's really that anymore.
Yeah.
But like, I don't know. Honestly, league coaches, they affect the game, but they don't affect it like that much. So like, if you put him out for another coach, I think this team finishes somewhere else other than 4 or 5. Probably not.
Sure. Now the inclusion of Freeze, who was considered pretty good player in his time. Obviously, things didn't work out in his professional career.
Technically, this is his professional career.
Yeah, as a player, I should say. But maybe the addition of him, I'm always a fan of players transitioning into coaching roles, because it's always weird to me when you have coaches that have never played the game at the highest level in League of Legends. Unlike a lot of other things, it's super important to be able to understand and play the game at the highest level if you're going to be a coach, right? Otherwise, you run into situations where the players think they know better than the coach, and that's never going to work out. Look at TSM's player coach situation. When you put Doublelift and Bjergsen on a team, that's not going to work. I'm honestly surprised TL didn't mental boom and Jensen didn't try and pull his dick out and slap Jat with it. Like, I'm a little surprised it worked out. Obviously, Jat has the the knowledge and experience to back it up, though, and that's probably why.
So, yeah. Technically, he was a player.
Yeah, he was a player on
professional esports
on Dig, and then he studied the game as a caster. So, I think that's probably why it worked out. So I'm always interested when I see these players transition. We'll have to wait and see with that. As it is, where do you think these guys place go?
Based on what we know so far. So right now we're filming this video. We know the completed rosters of BlackWest, TL, 100 Thieves, CLG. Who else? And
we know CLG. We don't know CLG, do we?
Yeah, we know CLG. They announced Broxa and
you're right. We do know
Broxa, Finn, Turtle, Smoothie, and Pobelter.
Yes, yeah. Okay. Who else?
EG is still up in there. TSM still
up in there.
Immortals is locked in? Pretty much locked in.
Pretty much, yeah.
I already know they're going to be bottom team anyway, so that doesn't matter.
Yeah, and then obviously this team is locked in.
Golden Guardians, I don't know what the fuck's going on there.
No one knows what's going on with them, yeah.
So based on that and like what we know, 3-4.
Okay.
3 or 4, depending on what TSM does. I think they'll be this. If TSM brings in Sword Art and they bring in like, I don't know, someone good top lane, then they'll be a better team, possibly. But otherwise, they'll be 3. If not, they'll be 4.
Yeah. So I'm going to agree with you. I think this is a team that will definitely be challenging for a world spot. However, depending on what some of these other teams do, right? Maybe Golden Guardians goes out and brings in, I don't fucking know, Nogri and Chovy, like something just the craziest thing. Like, I don't know, right? Which they won't. Unless they sell a billion Steph Curry jerseys, that's just not happening. So, but yeah, I think this is a team that's going to be at least challenging for a world spot, depending on what happens with TSM specifically, because if they pull in someone like Sword Art, that is a bit of a game changer for that team. However, I think TSM is liable to mental boom, right? This is almost a completely fresh team. It's going to be 3 new players
Yeah.
who have never really worked together with these people. We've got a brand new coach who was a player with the other 2 players. Now, yes, he's well respected, but that could completely boom out on them, right?
So if you had to
I'm going to say 100 Thieves, 3,
yeah,
with the potential of losing that out and being number 4. But most likely, I think they're going to be a 3rd place team.
yeah, I don't. Wow, DeMonte could be making the return to Worlds.
Yeah. Well, I think it comes down to synergy, right? This team has synergy already built.
He is going to be a Worlds mid coming from NA. Stop that for a second.
He's literally.
I say that to myself, and I'm like, this can't happen. Like this guy is. Like, we saw what happened at Worlds last time.
We did. We saw it last time. Now, that was a year ago. That was 2019. Almost 2 by the time he gets to the.
He hasn't gotten better, man. He hasn't gotten better.
Hey, DeMonte, if you're watching this, there's a chance you've gotten better. Being homegrown.
There's a better chance that you've gotten better than there is that you watching this video.
Yeah, I mean,
put it that way.
Look, you're a homegrown mid. We're rooting for you, bud.
It's not saying much.
But that really is not saying much. It's unlikely he has gotten better. So it's going to be rough if they do end up going to Worlds, which, like I said, I think there's.
Him and Close will get decked. Totally.
I mean, he'll get exposed. Look at the junglers that were at Worlds this year. How do you compete with Yankos? How do you compete with Kanabi? How do you compete with Selfmade? How do you compete with SOFM? Like, what happens? You just get smacked. How are you going to compete with Canyon, bro?
And if you're playing jungle, I don't know. If you play jungle in solo queue, or pretty much you play jungle in solo queue, like if your mid laner is losing mid, the game just became 90% harder. Like winning that lane is so important to your role.
It is,
especially in the last couple of years. Like,
if
you lose mid lane, you'll get to play the game.
Well, I mean, so I like to look at 2016 G2, where Perks was, I believe this was his first appearance on the world stage. And in my opinion, in 2016, Perks was the best LeBlanc in the world. This guy was absolutely disgusting. And I think Trick was the jungler. Trick, okay? Not Trick 2G, I know, but basically the same. They're both boomers. Trick has been playing the game for goddamn so long. He was a washed up. Trick was so washed. And Perks says nothing but good things about this guy, for the record. But Perks made it so Trick could play the game, and G2 looked all right. And DeMonte is going to have the opposite effect. He's going to make it so Closer can't play the game. And I think that's something that'll be a concern, right?
Yeah.
Now, who knows? Maybe someday's good enough that 5 people try and tower dive him and he gets a pentakill. Probably not.
This is legit going to be our 3rd team going to Worlds.
So, I think that pretty much wraps.
Sucks.
Hey, man. I think that's going to wrap this up. We have hope for TL and we have hope for C9. Our 3rd place team, we don't have hope for, unfortunately.
Unless Double turns back the clock, Sora comes in. I don't know. They sign Huni, I guess.
Dude, Nash's Tooth
SKT1 Huni.
Nash's Tooth Oriana is probably going to be meta, so PoE's getting a World's Trophy. You heard it here first. But anyways, that's our episode of 100 Thieves. I know we rambled a little bit, but hopefully you got an idea of what we think of the roster. I think we both said tops, 3rd or 4th place, leaning towards 3rd at the moment with our information. And so thank you guys for watching.
Hit the button down below to like and subscribe. We really appreciate it. If you have any questions or anything you want to talk about, leave a comment.
All right.